The HOA president hated us from day one. But I never imagined she would push my pregnant wife's wheelchair over a simple rule violation. What happened in those 3 minutes changed everything. My wife started bleeding. Our unborn baby stopped moving. And the woman who caused it all stood there with her clipboard, refusing to call for help. This is the story of how one cruel moment nearly destroyed our family. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The autumn sun cast long shadows across our quiet suburban street as I helped my wife Emma into her wheelchair. 8 months pregnant and recovering from a severe car accident that had left her unable to walk, she looked up at me with those brave eyes that broke my heart every single day. "I just want to feel the sunshine, David," she whispered, one hand resting protectively on her swollen belly. "The baby's been kicking all morning. I think she knows we're going outside." I knelt beside her, adjusting the blanket across her lap despite the warm afternoon. "Then sunshine is exactly what you'll get, my love." We had moved to this neighborhood 6 months ago, hoping for a fresh start after the accident. The doctors said Emma might never walk again. The pregnancy was already complicated, and then that drunk driver had changed everything in one terrible moment. But Emma refused to give up. She refused to let darkness win. "David, look at the roses," Emma said softly, pointing to the bushes I had planted last month. "They're blooming." I smiled, pushing her wheelchair slowly along the sidewalk. "Just like you said they would." The neighborhood was peaceful. Children played in distant yards. Birds sang in the trees. For a moment, everything felt almost normal. Almost like the life we had planned before the accident. Almost like the future we had dreamed about when we first learned we were having a baby girl. But then I saw her. Margaret Blackwood. The HOA president. Marching toward us with that signature scowl on her face, clipboard clutched in her bony fingers like a weapon. In our 6 months here, she had made our lives miserable. Citations for our grass being a 1/4 inch too long. Complaints about our car being parked 3 inches over our driveway line. Nasty notes about our window blinds being the wrong shade of white. But we had tolerated it all. We had bigger battles to fight. "Mr. Anderson." Her shrill voice cut through the peaceful afternoon like nails on a chalkboard. "Mr. Anderson, I need to speak with you immediately." I felt Emma tense in her wheelchair. I placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Just ignore her, sweetheart. Let's keep going." But Margaret was already upon us, her expensive heels clicking aggressively against the pavement. She was a tall woman in her late 50s, with severely pulled back gray hair and a face that looked like it had forgotten how to smile decades ago. "Did you hear me?" she snapped. "I said I need to speak with you." I turned, keeping my voice calm. "Mrs. Blackwood, we're just taking a walk. Whatever it is can wait." Her eyes narrowed, and I saw something cruel flash across her features. "No, it cannot wait. Your garbage bins are still out. It is now 3:47 p.m. Bins must be removed from the curb by 3 p.m. on collection day. This is your 3rd violation this month." I stared at her in disbelief. "Mrs. Blackwood, I've been caring for my wife. I'm sorry if I forgot." "Your circumstances are not the HOA's concern," she interrupted coldly. "Rules are rules. That's a $200 fine." Emma's voice was soft but firm. "Please, Mrs. Blackwood. David has been taking care of me around the clock. The doctors say I need constant monitoring. He just forgot." Margaret's gaze shifted to Emma, and what I saw in her eyes made my blood run cold. Not sympathy. Not understanding. Pure contempt. "Perhaps if you weren't so demanding of your husband's time, Mrs. Anderson, he would be able to fulfill his community obligations." The words hung in the air like poison. Emma's hand went to her belly, protective and trembling. I saw tears beginning to form in her eyes, and something inside me broke. "How dare you," I said, my voice low and dangerous. How dare you speak to my wife that way? Margaret stepped closer, invading our space. I dare because I am the president of this HOA, and you people seem to think you're above the rules. Well, you're not. And frankly, I'm tired of making exceptions for your little situation here. Our little situation. I repeated, my hands gripping the wheelchair handle so tightly my knuckles turned white. My wife is 8 months pregnant and paralyzed from a car accident. She's in constant pain. We're terrified we might lose our baby. And you're worried about garbage bins? I'm worried about property values, Margaret shot back. And residents who think their personal dramas give them the right to ignore community standards. This neighborhood has a reputation to maintain. Emma was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Her whole body shook with emotion. The baby kicked hard, and Emma gasped, her hand pressing against her stomach. David, she whispered. The baby. Something feels wrong. Panic seized my heart. We need to go inside. Now. I started to turn the wheelchair, but Margaret moved to block our path. We're not finished here, she said coldly. I need you to sign these violation notices. Get out of our way, I demanded, fear replacing anger in my voice. My wife needs to lie down. This will only take a moment. I said move. But Margaret didn't move. She stood there, clipboard extended, her face a mask of bureaucratic cruelty. And in that moment, I saw what 6 months of stress and grief and fighting had done to her humanity. There was nothing left. Just rules and power and a desperate need to control. Emma was sobbing now, clutching her stomach. David, please. It hurts. The baby's not moving right. Terror flooded through me. I had to get her inside. I had to call the doctor. Every second mattered. Mrs. Blackwood, I'm begging you, I said, my voice cracking. Please. Just let us pass. My wife is in distress. Margaret's lips curled into something that might have been a smile. Then perhaps she shouldn't have come outside if she's so fragile. And then she did something I will never forget for the rest of my life. She reached out and pushed Emma's wheelchair. Not hard enough to tip it. But hard enough to make it roll backwards suddenly, hard enough to jolt Emma violently. Hard enough to make my pregnant, paralyzed wife scream in pain and fear. Stop being so dramatic, Margaret hissed. Everything that happened next occurred in slow motion. Emma's scream, the wheelchair rolling back to my desperate lunge to catch it. Emma's hands clutching her belly as her face went white with agony. The wetness that suddenly appeared on the wheelchair seat. David, Emma gasped, her voice filled with terror. The baby. Something's wrong. There's blood. My world collapsed. I ran around the wheelchair, dropping to my knees in front of Emma. Blood. There was blood. Too much blood. Emma's face had gone from white to gray. Her breathing was rapid and shallow. Call 911. I screamed at Margaret. Call an ambulance right now. But Margaret just stood there, frozen, her clipboard hanging limply at her side. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not concern for Emma. Fear for herself. Fear of what she had done. I barely touched her, she stammered. I just moved the wheelchair a little. She's being dramatic. She's always been dramatic. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, dialing 911 while trying to keep Emma conscious. She was fading fast, her eyes rolling back. Stay with me, Emma, I begged, tears streaming down my face. Stay with me, baby. Stay with our daughter. Please. Please don't leave me. 911, what's your emergency? My wife, I choked out. She's 8 months pregnant and paralyzed. Someone pushed her wheelchair. She's bleeding. There's so much blood. Please help us. Please. The operator's voice was calm and professional. Help is on the way, sir. I need you to keep your wife conscious. Can you do that? Emma, look at me, I begged, holding her face in my hands. Look at me, sweetheart. The ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay. The baby's going to be okay. But Emma's eyes were closing. David, she whispered. If something happens to me, promise you'll take care of our baby girl. Promise me she'll know how much I loved her. No, I said fiercely. No, you're going to tell her yourself. You're both going to be fine. Do you hear me? You're both going to be fine. I heard sirens in the distance. Growing louder, getting closer. Behind me, Margaret was backing away. I didn't do anything wrong, she said, her voice rising hysterically. She's exaggerating. This is all for attention. I barely touched the wheelchair. A neighbor, Mrs. Chen, came running from across the street. She took one look at Emma and covered her mouth in horror. Oh my God! What happened? She pushed her, I said, my voice hollow with shock. Margaret pushed Emma's wheelchair. Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. She looked at Margaret with pure disgust. You did what? I didn't push anyone, Margaret protested. I just moved the wheelchair slightly. She's being dramatic. There's blood everywhere. Mrs. Chen shouted. She's pregnant and paralyzed, and you put your hands on her wheelchair. What is wrong with you? More neighbors were emerging now. Mr. Peterson. The Johnsons, Sarah Williams with her 2 young children. They all stood in a circle around us, witnesses to Margaret's cruelty. The ambulance screamed around the corner, followed by a police car. Paramedics jumped out, rushing toward us with equipment and urgent expertise. Sir, we need you to step back, a young paramedic said gently, placing a hand on my shoulder. I can't leave her, I said desperately. I can't. We're going to help her, but we need space to work. Can you tell me what happened? I explained quickly, my words tumbling over each other, watching in agony as they examined Emma. They were professional and efficient, but I could see the concern in their eyes. They worked fast, too fast, with the kind of urgency that terrified me. We need to transport immediately, one of them said. This is critical. Baby's in distress. Mother's blood pressure is dropping. They were loading Emma onto a stretcher, moving with practiced speed. I started to follow, but a police officer stepped in front of me. Sir, I need to ask you a few questions first. My wife needs me, I said, trying to push past him. I understand, and you can ride in the ambulance. But first, I need to know what happened here. The 911 call indicated an assault. I pointed at Margaret, who had backed up against her perfectly manicured hedge. She pushed my wife's wheelchair. My pregnant, paralyzed wife. She pushed her because I didn't move our garbage bins on time. The officer's expression hardened. He turned to Margaret. Ma'am, did you make physical contact with this woman's wheelchair? Margaret's face had gone pale. I didn't push anyone. I just moved it slightly. She's exaggerating. She wants attention. There are witnesses, Mrs. Chen said firmly, stepping forward. I saw everything from my window. Margaret pushed that wheelchair deliberately. That poor woman is 8 months pregnant and can't walk, and Margaret pushed her because of some HOA violation. Other neighbors nodded. I saw it too, Mr. Peterson added. Margaret has been harassing this family for months. The officer spoke into his radio, requesting backup. Then he turned to Margaret. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stay right here. This is ridiculous, Margaret sputtered. I'm the HOA president. I have authority in this neighborhood. These people have been violating community rules for months. Someone needed to put them in their place. The words hung in the air. A confession. An admission that she had deliberately tried to intimidate and harm my wife. The officer's jaw clenched. Ma'am, you just admitted to assault on a pregnant disabled woman. I'm placing you under arrest. What? Margaret's voice rose to a shriek. You can't arrest me. I'm Margaret Blackwood. I've lived in this neighborhood for 20 years. These people are nobodies. They're trash. The officer was already pulling out his handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. A police officer arrived, young and sympathetic. He asked me detailed questions about what had happened. I answered mechanically, my mind barely processing his words. Mrs. Blackwood has been charged with assault and battery, reckless endangerment, and assault on a disabled person, he said. Given the severity of your wife's condition, additional charges may be filed. The district attorney wants to pursue this aggressively. I don't care about charges, I said hollowly. I just want my wife and daughter to be okay. I understand, sir. We have multiple witness statements. Mrs. Blackwood is being held without bail. She won't be going anywhere. More hours. The sun was setting outside. I had lost all track of time. Finally, a doctor emerged. Still in surgical scrubs, tired eyes. But not the face of someone bringing terrible news. Mr. Anderson. I jumped to my feet. How are they? Please tell me they're okay. The doctor smiled. Smiled. Your wife is stable. She made it through surgery. It was touch and go for a while, but she's strong. Stronger than anyone I've seen in a long time. Relief flooded through me so intensely I nearly collapsed. And the baby? You have a daughter, Mr. Anderson. She's small, only 4 pounds, and she's in the NICU. But she's breathing on her own. She's fighting. Just like her mother. I was crying again. But this time, they were tears of relief. Of gratitude. Of overwhelming love. Can I see them? Your wife is in recovery. She'll be moved to ICU soon. The baby is in the NICU on the 4th floor. You can see her now if you'd like. I followed him through sterile corridors to the NICU. He showed me how to scrub and gown up. Then he led me to a tiny incubator in a room full of machines and monitors. And there she was. My daughter. She was so small. So impossibly small. Tubes and wires connected her to machines. But her tiny chest was rising and falling steadily. Her little hands were clenched into fists. And when I gently touched her through the incubator opening, her fingers wrapped around mine. This is insane. Margaret screamed as the officer cuffed her hands behind her back. She's fine. She's being dramatic. Pregnant women are always so emotional. Sir, another paramedic called out to me. We need to go now. You can ride with us. I didn't wait. I ran to the ambulance, climbing in beside Emma. She was barely conscious, an oxygen mask over her face, 4 lines in her arms. She looked so small, so fragile, surrounded by medical equipment. I'm here, sweetheart, I whispered, taking her hand. I'm right here. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Through the window, I could see Margaret still screaming, still protesting, as the officer guided her toward the police car. Neighbors stood watching, their faces showing everything from shock to satisfaction. But I didn't care about Margaret anymore. All I cared about was Emma and our baby. The paramedic working on Emma looked at me with serious eyes. Sir, I'm not going to lie to you. This is very serious. The impact to the wheelchair caused placental abruption. That means the placenta is separating from the uterus. Your wife is hemorrhaging internally. We need to get her to the hospital immediately for an emergency C-section. The words were like knives. Is she going to make it? Is the baby going to make it? We're doing everything we can, he said, which wasn't an answer at all. Emma's eyes fluttered open. She looked at me through the oxygen mask, and I saw fear there. Raw, terrible fear. "David," she whispered. "Tell our baby I love her. Tell her every day." "You're going to tell her yourself," I said fiercely, squeezing her hand. "You hear me? You're going to hold her and sing to her and watch her grow up. We're going to do this together. Promise me," Emma insisted weakly. "Promise me you'll take care of her. That you'll tell her about me. That you'll make sure she knows she was wanted. That she was loved." Tears streamed down my face. "I promise. But you're going to be there too. Both of you are going to make it. Do you hear me? Both of you." Emma's eyes closed again. Monitors beeped frantically. The paramedic shouted instructions to the driver. We were racing through traffic, sirens screaming, and all I could do was hold Emma's hand and pray. I prayed harder than I had ever prayed in my life. I prayed to every god I could think of. I made bargains. I made promises. I begged the universe for mercy. Emma had been through so much. The accident, the paralysis, the fear of losing the baby. Months of pain and rehabilitation and struggling to find hope. She had fought so hard. She had been so brave. And one cruel woman had nearly destroyed everything in a moment of petty, heartless vindictiveness. The ambulance screeched to a stop at the emergency entrance. The doors flew open. Doctors and nurses were waiting, a whole team of them. They pulled Emma out, rushing her toward the building. "Sir, you'll need to wait in the surgical waiting room," a nurse said, stopping me from following. "That's my wife," I said desperately. "That's my daughter." "I know," she said gently. "And we're going to do everything we can to save them both. But right now, the best thing you can do is let the doctors work. Someone will update you as soon as possible." She guided me to a waiting room. Empty chairs. Harsh fluorescent lights. A clock on the wall that seemed to move both too fast and too slow. I collapsed into a chair, my hands shaking, my mind replaying everything that had just happened. Margaret's cruel words. Emma's scream, the blood, the fear in Emma's eyes. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. My phone rang. My mother. I had forgotten that I was supposed to call her today. "David," her voice was cheerful. "How's my favorite daughter-in-law? Is she feeling any better?" I couldn't speak. The words wouldn't come. "David? Honey, are you there?" "Mom," I finally choked out. Something happened. Something terrible happened. I told her everything. She listened in horrified silence. When I finished, she was crying. "I'm getting on the next flight," she said immediately. "Don't you dare go through this alone. I'll be there as soon as I can." "Thank you," I whispered. Hours passed. Each minute felt like a lifetime. Nurses came and went, but none of them had information for me. I paced. I sat. I prayed. I cried. A police officer arrived, young and sympathetic. He asked me detailed questions about what had happened. I answered mechanically, my mind barely processing his words. "Mrs. Blackwood has been charged with assault and battery, reckless endangerment, and assault on a disabled person," he said. "Given the severity of your wife's condition, additional charges may be filed. The district attorney wants to pursue this aggressively." "I don't care about charges," I said hollowly. "I just want my wife and daughter to be okay." "I understand, sir. We have multiple witness statements. Mrs. Blackwood is being held without bail. She won't be going anywhere." More hours. The sun was setting outside. I had lost all track of time. Finally, a doctor emerged. Still in surgical scrubs, tired eyes. But not the face of someone bringing terrible news. "Mr. Anderson?" I jumped to my feet. How are they? Please tell me they're okay. The doctor smiled. Smiled. Your wife is stable. She made it through surgery. It was touch and go for a while, but she's strong. Stronger than anyone I've seen in a long time. Relief flooded through me so intensely I nearly collapsed. And the baby? You have a daughter, Mr. Anderson. She's small, only 4 pounds, and she's in the NICU. But she's breathing on her own. She's fighting. Just like her mother. I was crying again. But this time, they were tears of relief. Of gratitude. Of overwhelming love. Can I see them? Your wife is in recovery. She'll be moved to ICU soon. The baby is in the NICU on the 4th floor. You can see her now if you'd like. I followed him through sterile corridors to the NICU. He showed me how to scrub and gown up. Then he led me to a tiny incubator in a room full of machines and monitors. And there she was. My daughter. She was so small. So impossibly small. Tubes and wires connected her to machines. But her tiny chest was rising and falling steadily. Her little hands were clenched into fists. And when I gently... "Hello, little one," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I'm your daddy. Your mama and I have been waiting so long to meet you. And you're perfect. You're absolutely perfect." She opened her eyes. Just for a moment. Looking right at me with Emma's eyes. "Your mama is going to be so proud of you," I told her. "You're both fighters. You're both so strong. And I'm going to take care of both of you. I promise." A nurse came over, smiling. "She's doing great for her gestational age. The next few days will be critical, but she's already showing great signs." "Does she have a name?" "Hope," I said immediately. "Her name is Hope." It had been Emma's choice. Hope Anderson. Because even in our darkest moments, Emma had never stopped hoping. "It's a beautiful name," the nurse said. I stayed with Hope as long as they would let me, whispering to her, telling her about her mother. About how brave Emma was. About all the things we were going to do together as a family. About the life we had planned. When they finally told me I needed to go so they could run tests, I went to find Emma. She was in ICU, still unconscious from surgery, but breathing steadily. Her face had color again. She looked peaceful. I pulled a chair close to her bed and took her hand. "Emma," I said softly. "We have a daughter. She's beautiful. She's tiny and fierce and perfect. She has your eyes. We're calling her Hope, just like you wanted. And she's going to be okay. You're both going to be okay." Emma's fingers twitched in mine. Her eyes moved beneath her closed lids. "The woman who did this to you, she's been arrested. She's going to pay for what she did. But I don't care about that right now. All I care about is you and Hope. You two are my whole world." I stayed there all night, holding Emma's hand, talking to her, willing her to wake up. When dawn broke through the hospital windows, Emma's eyes finally opened. "David," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm right here." "The baby?" I smiled, tears streaming down my face. "She's perfect, Emma. She's small but she's strong. Just like her mother. Her name is Hope. And she can't wait to meet you." Emma started crying. "She's really okay. She's really okay. You both are." I was so scared, David. When Margaret pushed me, I felt something tear inside. I thought I was losing her. I thought I was dying. "But you didn't," I said fiercely. "You fought. You held on. You saved her." A nurse came in to check Emma's vitals. "Welcome back, Mrs. Anderson. You gave us quite a scare. Can I see my daughter?" Emma asked immediately. The nurse smiled. Let's get you stable first. But soon, I promise. Very soon. Over the next few days, Emma recovered faster than anyone expected. The doctors were amazed. But I wasn't. I knew Emma. I knew her strength. When they finally wheeled her to the NICU to see Hope for the first time, I watched my wife fall in love all over again. She's so tiny, Emma whispered, tears streaming down her face as she looked at our daughter through the incubator. She's so beautiful. She gets that from you, I said. Emma reached through the opening, gently touching Hope's tiny hand. Hope's fingers immediately wrapped around Emma's finger, holding tight. Hello, my sweet girl, Emma said softly. I'm your mama. And I love you so much. You're my miracle. My little fighter. Hope's eyes opened, looking at Emma. And I swear, she knew. She knew this was her mother. The news of what happened spread through our neighborhood like wildfire. The story made local news. HOA president arrested for assaulting pregnant disabled woman. The headlines were brutal. The public reaction was swift and merciless. Margaret's lawyer tried to spin the story, claiming it was an accident, that Emma had overreacted, that Margaret barely touched the wheelchair. But the witness statements were damning. The physical evidence was irrefutable. The video from Mrs. Chen's doorbell camera showed everything. The HOA held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to remove Margaret as president. Several board members resigned in solidarity with us. The neighborhood rallied around our family in ways I never expected. Meals appeared at our doorstep. Gift cards. Offers to help with anything we needed. Mrs. Chen organized a meal train. Mr. Peterson mowed our lawn every week. Sarah Williams started a fund to help with medical expenses. People we barely knew showed up with baby clothes and supplies for Hope. Notes of support, prayers, love. I can't believe how kind everyone is being, Emma said one evening, reading through cards and messages. That's because what happened to you was wrong, I said. People recognize cruelty when they see it. And they recognize courage too. Emma looked down at Hope, who was sleeping peacefully in her arms. After 2 weeks in the NICU, Hope was finally strong enough to be held. She was still tiny, but growing stronger every day. I keep thinking about what Margaret said, Emma admitted quietly. About me being dramatic. About being a burden to you. David, do you ever feel like I'm too much? Like caring for me is too hard? I knelt beside her wheelchair, looking into her eyes. Emma, you are the love of my life. The mother of my child. The strongest person I have ever known. You survived a terrible accident. You endured months of pain and fear. You grew our daughter while your own body was healing from trauma. You fought for her life even when you were terrified. How could you ever think you're a burden? Because I can't walk, she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. Because you have to do everything. Because I can't even stand at the stove to cook dinner or run to grab groceries or chase after Hope when she starts crawling. None of that matters, I said fiercely. None of it. You are here. You are alive. Hope is alive. That's what matters. We're a family. And families take care of each other. But what if I never walk again? What if this is permanent? I took her hands. Then we adapt. We figure it out together. Emma, I didn't fall in love with you because you could walk. I fell in love with your heart, your spirit, your laugh, the way you see beauty in everything. The way you never give up. Those things didn't change because of the accident. You're still you. And you're still the woman I want to spend my life with. Emma pulled me close, kissing me deeply. Hope stirred between us, making a tiny sound of protest at being squished. We both laughed, the tension breaking. Our daughter has opinions already, Emma said, smiling down at Hope. She gets that from you too, I teased. The criminal case against Margaret moved forward quickly. The prosecutor charged her with multiple felonies: assault and battery on a disabled person, reckless endangerment of a minor. The charges carried serious prison time. Margaret's lawyer approached us about a plea deal. Margaret would plead guilty to reduced charges in exchange for a shorter sentence. "What do you think?" I asked Emma. We were sitting in our living room. Hope was asleep in her bassinet nearby. Emma stared at the legal papers in her lap. "Part of me wants her to suffer," Emma admitted. "Part of me wants her to go to prison for years. To feel a fraction of the fear I felt that day." "And the other part?" Emma sighed. "The other part of me is just tired. Tired of being angry, tired of reliving that moment. I want to focus on hope. On our family. On healing." "Then that's what we'll do," I said. We agreed to the plea deal. Margaret pled guilty and was sentenced to 2 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation and mandatory community service. She was also required to pay restitution for Emma's medical bills and banned from ever serving on an HOA board again. On the day of sentencing, the judge had harsh words for Margaret. "Mrs. Blackwood, your actions were not just cruel, they were criminal. You targeted a vulnerable pregnant woman, disabled and defenseless, because of your own petty need for control and power. You showed no remorse, no compassion, no basic human decency. You could have killed a mother and her unborn child over garbage bins. I hope you use your time in prison to reflect on the kind of person you've become." Margaret stood there, for once silent. She looked smaller somehow. Defeated. As the bailiff led her away in handcuffs, she glanced back at us. I saw something in her eyes. Maybe regret. Maybe just fear of consequences. I didn't care anymore. Emma squeezed my hand. "It's over," she whispered. "It's over," I agreed. But really, it was just beginning. Our new life as parents, our journey as a family. Hope grew stronger every day. She hit every milestone a little late because of her premature birth, but she hit them with determination that reminded me so much of Emma. Her first smile, her first laugh. The day she rolled over by herself. Emma started physical therapy again, working harder than ever. She said hope gave her new motivation. She wanted to be able to play with our daughter, even from a wheelchair. And slowly, impossibly, Emma started getting feeling back in her legs. Just tingling at first, then pins and needles. The doctors were shocked. They said it was rare but possible for paralysis from trauma to reverse over time. On Hope's first birthday, Emma stood up from her wheelchair. Just for a moment, holding on to me and the table. Her legs shook. Tears streamed down both our faces. "Look, Hope," Emma said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Mama's standing." Hope clapped her tiny hands, giggling, not understanding how miraculous this moment was. But Emma and I understood. We understood that healing takes time. That courage comes in many forms. That love can overcome even the darkest moments. That day in the driveway, when Margaret pushed Emma's wheelchair, had been the worst moment of our lives. But somehow, we had survived it. We had fought through it. Together. "I love you," I told Emma, holding her steady. "I love you too," she whispered back. Hope toddled over, wrapping her chubby arms around both our legs. "Mama, Dada." And there we stood, the three of us, a family forged in pain but bound by love. Broken but healing, scarred but stronger. Margaret Blackwood had tried to destroy us over a petty HOA violation. But she had failed. Because cruelty can wound, but it cannot break what love holds together. We were survivors. Fighters. A family. And we were finally, truly home. Emma walks now. Not perfectly. She still uses a cane sometimes. But she walks. She dances with Hope in the kitchen. She stands at the stove cooking dinner. She gardens in our yard, planting roses that bloom every spring. Hope is 3 now, full of energy and questions and joy. She knows her mother is her hero. She knows our family is special. She knows she was wanted, loved, fought for. We moved to a new neighborhood. One without an HOA. Our neighbors here are kind and supportive and respectful. They know our story, but they don't treat us as victims. They treat us as friends. Sometimes I think about that terrible afternoon. The fear, the blood, the desperate race to the hospital, the hours of not knowing if Emma and Hope would survive. But mostly, I think about the miracle that followed. The strength Emma showed. The fighter our daughter proved to be. The community that rallied around us, the love that held us together through the darkest times. Margaret served her time and was released. I heard she moved to another state. I hope she found peace. I hope she learned something about compassion. But honestly, I don't think about her much anymore. Because our lives are full of better things now, birthday parties, bedtime stories. Hope's laughter echoing through our home. Emma's smile when she accomplishes something new. The simple joy of being together. Last week, Emma ran. Just a few steps, holding my hand, in our backyard. Hope cheered and jumped up and down. Mama running, Mama running. Emma collapsed into my arms, laughing and crying. I never thought I'd run again. I never doubted you would, I told her. Because Emma has always been a fighter. From the moment I met her. Through every challenge we've faced. She has fought with grace and courage and relentless hope. And Hope, our daughter, inherited that strength. She is her mother's child. Fierce and loving, determined and kind. Everything we dreamed she would be. People ask us sometimes how we got through it all. How we survived the accident, the paralysis, the attack, the emergency delivery, the fear, the pain. The answer is simple. Love. We loved each other enough to fight. To hope. To believe that tomorrow could be better than today. And we were right. Tomorrow was better. And the day after that, and every day since. That's not to say it's been easy. Emma still has bad days, when her legs ache or won't cooperate. We still have medical bills. We still deal with PTSD from that terrible afternoon. But we deal with it together. As a family. And every time I see Hope laugh, every time Emma stands without help, every time we sit together at dinner in our peaceful home, I'm reminded that we won. Margaret Blackwood tried to break us over garbage bins and petty power. Instead, she showed us how strong we really were. How much we truly loved each other. How a family, bound together by love and commitment, can survive anything. Our story could have ended in tragedy. It almost did. For 3 terrible minutes, as Emma bled and Hope fought for life, everything hung in the balance. But we fought. We survived. We healed. And now, our story is one of triumph. Of love conquering cruelty. Of strength emerging from suffering. Of hope, both our daughter and the quality that saved us, prevailing against all odds. Margaret Blackwood pushed my pregnant wife in her wheelchair. 3 minutes later, she was arrested. But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story is Hope blowing out her birthday candles. Emma dancing in the kitchen, our family, together, happy, whole. The end of the story is love winning. Always and forever, love wins.